Good evening to all those who have joined this live session. Hope you have enjoyed the entire learning in all these lectures. So today we will take up whatever your doubts are, and since this being the last live session of this course in this run, so whatever your doubts is, you can keep posting into the chat box, and then those we will take one by one. We will start with some of the questions which have come up in discussion forum, and by that time maybe we will have more questions in the chat box, and then we can take those as well.
The first question is regarding the exam pattern, which everybody wants clarification on. So will it be objective type questions as we have assignments, or it will be an essay type questions? Is there any guidance given or practice question will be given to us?
So regarding there have been many queries regarding to the examination pattern. Uh, this will be completely computer based and objective type questions. So there will be, and it will be the pattern will be similar to what you have done in the assignments during the different weeks. Pattern is going to be similar. There will be some, and what then NPTEL proportion is about certain percentage of it is from the assignments and then recall, and some are the questions where you have to think. So the pattern is going to be completely objective. You will have choices, multiple choice questions, and so these will be similar to the assignments which you have already attempted.
And next question is, currently all sectors is focusing on green hydrogen strategy. So is it worthy for industrial, domestic and commercial as of now or not?
See, with these days, what we are hearing is only one color of hydrogen. In spite of we have an entire spectrum now dedicated for hydrogen based on the source from where you are getting the required energy for producing hydrogen or the feedstock. But the most talked about, especially in India, is the green hydrogen, and also as well as out of India as well. The reason being we want to cut down onto the emissions. And since all of us we have identified the hazards associated with the problems that we are facing because of climate change, and everyone, even the global leaders as well as the stakeholders, the industries, various people, they have understood the problems and now they want really to decarbonize the various sectors. As such, the importance of green hydrogen becomes multifold. So maybe if you see it may not be economic as of now. The cost of hydrogen, if you do an LCOH, the cost of hydrogen, green hydrogen, produced completely without emission will be definitely higher. And that we have seen also in the course, it is higher than what you get for the gray hydrogen or for brown hydrogen, black hydrogen. But in a longer term, when we are looking for sustainable options, when we are looking at targets related to decarbonization, targets related to what will be the temperature rise 1.5 degree when we talk about from the Paris Agreement. So all these can only be met when we have that entire value chain to be emission free. And therein the green hydrogen is going to play a key role. Now, it is whether it's going to be a solution very soon or it's going to take certain time, all that dynamics will change. And it has changed over a period of time as well. This will change based on the policies that different governments are going to lay, the incentives that are going to be floated, the schemes like the PLI scheme, that itself is going to play a crucial role, and that is going to bring those changes faster with the policy support. So definitely the ultimate objective is we are looking at is green hydrogen, but in the transition to green hydrogen we may see gray hydrogen being used, or there may be increase in the green hydrogen usage depending upon how the support and economics works.
So there is a query for the material sustainability perspective for the final exam. Could you give any details on what depth should topics be remembered, considering most of the course is heavily theory based and requires a lot of remembering of numbers and details?
So most of the time, like if there are certain numbers which you need not to remember, will be given in as a in a numerical will be given. If it is, let's say, delta G or delta H values, some of the things, like since this is a hydrogen course, we expect that lower heating value or higher heating value or density you should remember, but still we will give those numbers. So it is like you may not have to mug up all those things, numbers and all. In a numerical, these will be given most of the time.
There is a question, in a fuel cell, electrolyte medium separates both reactants, but from which source initial energy is being given for generating electrons at anode, like for breaking H-H bonds to initiate the electron flow towards cathode.
So thermodynamics wise, it is not feasible. So also we have seen the electrolyzer and fuel cell, both they have certain commonalities. And we have seen that there is a certain voltage. So that is the what the activation energy is required for the process to initiate. Below that, if the voltage is lower, in that case, like an electrolyzer, if there's a threshold below which, or the thermodynamic voltage below which, if it is not given that much amount of energy, in that case the process does not happen. Then there is another energy, the reversible voltage, what we have talked about. And then there are the different over voltages that we have also learned. So there is a required activation energy which needs to be given uh, to the fuel cell or electrolyzer. That is the activation energy which we provide, and that is required for the process to happen.
Then there is a question, why trenching is not preferred method when highway is present during transportation.
So trenching is not preferred because usually we see that roads are digged as they are made, but it is not a convention everywhere. So usually, like highways, these should be operational all the time. And if you dig that highway and then you have to put a pipeline, that becomes a major problem. That it should not be that the highway is stopped. So what you have to do is you have to without any obstruction in the movement of the traffic. If you want a solution, then trenching is not the best solution, and then you have to go for either HDD, higher horizontal direction drilling, or boring options. Uh, you can post your questions in the chat box. At present, we do not have any question. So until we get certain more questions in the chat box, we will. I would say that now, since you have already gone through all the weeks of the course, and what we feel is like now you have a fair knowledge of this course, we would suggest that you share your feedback and what more we should include in the upcoming courses. That will sort of provide us to we will that will let us know how to design the next course in this series. So I welcome Professor Sandeep Kumar in this live session.
Uh, Welcome everyone. Sorry for the delay. So I hope the course has gone fine with all of you. If you have any doubts and any queries, we can take it up.
So it is about the mostly questions because this is the last week and examination is nearing. So these are related to the examination pattern. 3 hours exam, yes, it is a 3 hours exam. Roughly 80 to 100 questions you will have to attempt. All these are objective MCQ type.
What is meant by LEL and HEL in case of hydrogen?
it is lower explosive limit and higher explosive limit. So we have discussed about the difference between the explosion and fire, and also that what is the composition where the oxidant and the fuel, when mixed and gets into a nearby an ignition source, can lead to explosion, which is uh, loss of confinement because of the rise in temperature and pressure. So this is LEL stands for that lower level composition. Like we have defined the flammability limit, it is the composition ratio or the concentration volume by volume in which if it is mixed with oxidant and comes in contact with an ignition source can lead to explosion. So lower limit and the upper limit, higher explosion limit. So you can post questions for us, any doubts if you have. Feedbacks are also welcome. Any comments? Exactly, not, but roughly 30%, 25 to 30% for the. No, they are asking for weightage in the mark sheet, final mark sheet. So this we will check and we'll let you know the weightage.
There will be any questions about the commercial aspects of hydrogen market or only technical questions? Commercial aspect mentioned during the course are not latest.
Correct. So this course was recorded in 2022. So there has been several advancements. I do agree for that. However, we will not be going into the latest. So in the questions that we will ask for, that will be more of technical aspects. If you want to share some tips.
So I think just on the IC engine sort of a part or use of hydrogen in the IC engines or its combustion related behavior and all. If anyone has any query, any doubt, then we can discuss that also.
There is a question, what is the scope if we are interested in research within hydrogen energy sector?
So yeah, so when we look into the hydrogen sort of energy sector, it's quite a wide area. Okay, so looking into production, storage, and utilization, and you have a different sort of a part with respect to generation coming from sort of material side, coming from the system side, coming from the grid stability, how to use the grid electricity to use it, and a lot of research is going on that. And then on the storage side also you have a compressed storage, and then you have a metal hydride storage and other new technologies. And then the utilization side also using it as a fuel through combustion route or through electrochemical route, fuel cell or your sort of IC engines or gas turbines. There are a lot of things there. So definitely future, depending on what background we're coming from, there's a lot of sort of a scope here, and we also hope that maybe in the next 5 years, 10 years, there will be demand for the skill which this course has imparted, and the people who has a good knowledge on the hydrogen sort of energy ecosystem. So,
Yeah, so let me take the next one.
What additional equipment would be required if we convert 15 megawatt power plant from coal to hydrogen? Is it possible in present available technology?
okay, so when we look into the convert power plant from coal to hydrogen, so one thing we have to see that typically hydrogen, whether it is hydrogen, currently the mass scale it is going through electrolysis route. So for electrolyzer, you need energy. So if you have solar as a source of energy, then it is available only the daytime. When you are using wind as a source, then that will be available in the night time or evening or morning time, but it won't be reliable. The speed and availability of wind will not be reliable. Then when we compare the coal-based thermal power plants, especially in Indian context, not only in India and China, the big countries, they actually are the backbone for the nighttime base load. So if in the nighttime you don't have a reliable source to generate the power, then you have to think about how the grid will be stable during the nighttime. Or solar will not be available. If wind is erratic, or hydrogen production will also be erratic. So if you have a sort of a power plant or you want to generate power, you directly use the power which is you are using for generating hydrogen. So mostly hydrogen is being seen as a sort of a carrier fuel. So even for the power generation, it is being seen as a carrier fuel. Carrier fuel. So daytime you use solar, and nighttime you store the energy in form of hydrogen, and then in the nighttime you use hydrogen as a sort of a source. But sort of a something we have to still, unless we find a sort of a reliable solution for the nighttime base load, it is very difficult to say how difficult, challenging, or economical aspects about the conversion of coal to hydrogen. I hope I've answered your question.
There is a next question from Nikhil. Up to what extent hydrogen production from biomass in India will work?
Okay, so when we look into the biomass as a source for anything, whether it is energy or whether it is fertilizer, or whether it is sort of green energy source, we don't look it as a sort of a giving a significant amount of energy through it. Okay, only what we are looking into it as a source of waste to energy. Just for example, you say that you have a biogas based plant which is generating compressed biogas or equivalent to CNG. But that biogas plant will also generate a lot of slurry that is still organic. So that slurry is actually a waste. So can we use that to generate something which is useful? And then when we look into that slurry will not give us more biogas. So let us take it through thermochemical route and generate hydrogen through it, which will have a demand in the market, which will have some economical value. Similar thing when we do go for ethanol production. Ethanol production also a lot of residual lignin will be left over. So that residual lignin will be a waste coming from a sort of an ethanol plant that can be taken as a source to generate hydrogen. You have a lot of municipal solid waste that can be taken as a sort of a source to generate hydrogen. And there we don't look into whether that hydrogen will be able to supply 10%, 20%, 25% of demand of the society or the market. But we are just trying to see that how much green hydrogen we can add into the grid, and as well as how much waste we can manage effectively, giving some waste to value. So that is the overall scenario when we look into any biomass technologies.
There's a question about green hydrogen economy. Where those production processes where we can replace conventional fuels with hydrogen, for example, like DRI in steel industry. So, are there any other production processes wherein we can replace green hydrogen?
Yeah, so actually, maybe one or two areas I will say that one thing which is being tagged as a sort of a difficult to mitigate. Some of the industries which are very difficult to mitigate is just like steel, because carbon is not used as a fuel but as a reactant to reduce your iron ore to iron. And similarly, many places where solid coal is still used, where you don't have a sort of a, in the near future, you can't shift that mobility unit to electrical sort of a side. Say, just for example, your aviation sector, you look into your shipping sector. We don't expect them to shift to electric mobility. And then if they are using fossil fuel, can hydrogen be one of the source? And there can hydrogen is a sort of a less denser gas, difficult to store too much of energy on board in an aeroplane or a ship. Then can a hydrogen carrier like ammonia, like methanol, or any hydrogen carrier fuel can be a source to decarbonize those sectors. So those are some of the areas which can be, which are actually a potential space where we can replace the conventional fuel, coal or petroleum-based sort of a products.
So the next question is, considering India has a huge coal reserves, do you think coal gasification route has potential for India for hydrogen production? Any IIT working on developing such technology?
Yeah, so actually it is going on. So there is some research going on in IIT Bombay with respect to the underground coal gasification. So underground coal gasification has been sort of mastered long back by Russia. They have been they run it for more than 40, 50 years or so. But when it comes to, and a lot of such plants are now running in pilot and a little bigger stage in China also. So in India, we have one peculiar problem with the coal is it has a very high ash content. So when it has a very high ash content, it's good, okay, we have standardized it for coal-based thermal power plant. But if we want to shift away from coal, there are two things from where we are getting hydrogen. So that comes the independence. So from the policy point of view, we may not or we should not get dependent on import. Like right now, we are dependent on liquid fossil fuel import. We are dependent on solar photovoltaic panel import. If we shift to electric mobility, we will get dependent on lithium import and nickel import and all. So those aspects we should not see when we switch to any other green sort of a fuel. Can we have in-house? So that way, coal combined with carbon capture can be a very good sort of a reliable and which can also give energy security to India. That way, using coal for hydrogen production through coal gasification, and there the underground coal gasification is one of the technology which has been touted as which can give a long-term solution of a cheap gas or a cheap synthetic gas. Coal gasification is right now also going on. It is one of the major contributor in hydrogen production in the world right now. But underground coal gasification is something which is being seen as a source for cheap hydrogen, and especially when in India we have a lot of coal reserve. Combined with carbon capture, it can give a sort of a little bit a green solution rather than depending on the imports of many of the energy products.
There is a request or suggestion from Kalyan that, as you have mentioned, world is only looking for green hydrogen. It would be helpful if a course on detailed course on electrolyzer and fuel cell technologies come up in future.
Yeah, definitely that will be very useful, and uh, maybe we will request our colleagues to come up with such course.
So this is for you. Like Kalyan is saying that I do understand you are having dedicated lab in IIT Bombay. What is the opportunity to get exposure to practical demonstrations or discussions with the team or student?
This is with respect to
that coal
coal gasification. So right now we don't have a coal gasification experimental facility right now here, but yeah, we have a biomass gasification facility which is similar technology, similar process. So definitely you can contact me if you are interested in, you want to see the lab or visit the lab and have a discussion around it. We can definitely have it. For the coal gasification, right now a lot of theoretical work is going on. And once that reaches to some certain stage, then we will have some experimental facility inside the IIT Bombay. Right now, we have only for biomass gasification experimental setup.
Few questions that came up, like there are few elements in the course which are not touched in very detail, like topics like chemical hydrides. So will they be having questions from that particular area, or will the slides will be provided as exam is approaching for review?
We have all the transcripts available, wherein also the slides are there in the transcripts. The slides, like pics of the slides, are there, and also we have copyright issues here, so you have while anything you are using, you have to mention about the NPTEL course. Please remember that. Some of the portions which you mentioned, like this will be mostly technical. As I mentioned, you need not to remember much of this stuff because whatever required, we will be some of those things like which are required and for the calculations and all will be given. I think beyond that, it is difficult to tell about the question paper.
So regarding this, there is a question related to assignments. The power of hydrogen compression depends on the mass of the gas to be compressed. I didn't get that answer right, so I'll email the question as I'm not able to get it. We will take it in the discussion forum once we
So
get
you
the
can write that about the assignment thing and then that will, but you have to quickly write that and we will take it up.
I would like to get exposure on fuel cell. I'm from aviation field, more interested for fuel cell technologies.
So Kalyan, maybe you can write to us and then we will connect you to our colleague and then you can have more discussion regarding the work that is going on at IIT Bombay in fuel cell technology and then how you can like work further together with him that could be worked out. So even after this session, if you have certain questions, certain doubts, you can post in the discussion forum and we will reply. So we do not have any further questions, so we will wait for a couple of more minutes and then we will close the session. So if we look at the course that, so on these, the same syllabus, we are also having a course in IIT Bombay, which is being offered to as an elective. So this is, most of the topics are same, but in fact we have tried to get into delve into more details here because we have more number of lectures in NPTEL. Other than that, we have a course project component there, which every student has to do. So they are offered certain topics, and in that they have to do a group project, and they have to come up with a report, and they have to present that. That is also a part of the evaluation in the course which is being offered at IIT Bombay. Yes, Kalyan, definitely you will pass. We are wishing you all the best. So since there are no more questions, then maybe we can close this session. All the
Yes.
best.
All the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for attending all these lectures. Hope you have learned a lot. You have enjoyed this course and wishing you all the best for your exams.